Intelligence is not a gift. It is not the privilege of a select few. It's not genes. It's a skill. It either grows or it degenerates. Everyone, God's day. If you feel dumber than others, it's not a diagnosis. It's a habit of not learning, a habit of giving up, a habit of making excuses. But here's the news. It's a habit that breaks. And now I'm going to show you exactly how. No motivational sugar. No, just believe in yourself. Just what works. Scientifically, step by step. You ready? Then don't turn it off. You'll start thinking differently. Starting now. Why do we believe intelligence is innate? Since childhood, we've been drummed into our heads the same thing. You're a humanitarian. He's got a brain for math. She was born with talent. Sound familiar? School quickly divides everyone into smart and not so smart. Grades become labels, and labels become self-fulfilling prophecies. And then you don't try it anymore because it's not my thing. People love to attribute someone else's success to talent because it's easier. So you don't have to change. You don't have to try. You can just throw up your hands and say, well, I was unlucky with my genes. But here's the truth. Most gifted people just started early. They were in an environment where effort was encouraged. They were given time and patience. They didn't give up on the third try. How about you? Do you still think you have the wrong mindset? Or have you just never really practiced once? If your brain is a muscle, you're not weak. You just haven't worked out yet. What is neuroplasticity and why it's a game changer? Neuroplasticity is your brain's superpower. It's its ability to change, adapt, and literally rebuild itself in response to your actions. And yes, it doesn't just work in children, it works in you. Right now, when you're learning something new, when you try it, make mistakes, try it again. New neural connections grow in your brain, like the roots of a plant, like the paths in the forest. The more you walk on them, the more visible they become. Did you learn a language? First, it's porridge, then it's habit. Played chess? Painful at first? Then you can see the moves ahead. You practiced memory? First, I forgot. Then I started memorizing everything. That's neuroplasticity in action. The brain is always ready to renew itself. The question is, do you give it a reason to? You can be anything you want to be, but only if you start small and keep going, even when the going gets tough. The brain doesn't refuse to change, it's you who refuses to use it. What really affects the development of intelligence? Constant learning. If you haven't learned anything new in a long time, your brain isn't resting, it's getting out of shape. It's designed to develop, and without a constant load, it starts to simplify. Every new knowledge is like a dumbbell for neurons. Reading, learning languages, online courses, tackling complex topics. It's not just useful, it's a rewiring of the mind. When you learn a language, your brain makes connections between memory, logic, and speech. When you read complex text, it learns to process meaning. When you listen to a podcast and really dig in, you train your attention, and with it, the ability to think more deeply. 5 pages of a book a day is 2,000 pages a year. One short course, and you're already one step ahead of your yesterday self. Small steps every day are what build intelligence. Learning is not a one-time spurt, it's the brain's default mode. If you turn it on, you're developing. If you don't, everything you have starts to go out little by little. Problem solving. If constant learning is the brain's food, problem solving is its gym. When you're faced with a problem you can't solve the first time, the brain activates logical thinking, creativity, memory, and strategy all at the same time. That's a high level of workload. And it's that kind of workload that grows intelligence. Problem solving isn't just math or chess. It can be figuring out a financial situation, strategizing in a game, building a project plan, even analyzing other people's actions and looking for reasons. Anything that requires thinking, not just reacting, forces the brain to build new neural pathways. It's hard at first. You get angry, tired, want to quit, but that's the point of growth. As opposed to passively consuming information, tasks require action, error, correction, and repetition. And that's the perfect formula for mental growth. Don't know how to solve problems? Start with a simple one. Logic games, Sudoku, chess, puzzles, even games like Portal or The Witness, all of these things already trigger the right processes. Intelligence doesn't come from watching videos. It comes when you stress, make mistakes, and keep going anyway. Decide more. Think better. It's as simple as that. Cognitive diversity. One of the most underrated ways to boost intelligence is to go outside of your specialty. If you've only read business your whole life, try biology. If you're used to logic, add creativity. If you're an introvert, go to an open mic. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's why it works. Cognitive diversity is practicing mental flexibility. When you switch between different types of tasks, the brain doesn't just memorize new things, it learns to learn. Drawing, playing musical instruments, acting classes, dancing, cooking, programming, all involve different areas of the brain. And the more zones you activate, the more neural connections you have. Why would you do that? Because in real life, it's not the smartest on paper that wins, but the one who can think outside the box, see connections, and adapt quickly when things don't go according to plan. Want to make decisions faster? Understand people better? Solve problems that seem like dead ends to others? You need flexibility, and flexibility is born right here. Plus, you start to see familiar things from a different angle. A programmer who has mastered improvisation adapts to non-standard tasks faster. An analyst who has tried dancing is suddenly better at reading the emotions of others. The brain is not a calculator. It's alive, and it likes variety. One skill strengthens another. One new area, and you get the old ones pumped up. That's why the smartest people aren't the ones who are deep in one subject, but those who can combine different thought patterns. So forget the phrase, "it's not my thing." It's like saying, "I don't do squats because my legs don't work." Emotional intelligence. You can know formulas, you can talk in terms, you can shine with facts, but if you don't understand yourself and feel for others, you won't get very far. Emotional intelligence is not about weakness, it's about control. It affects everything: how you handle conflict, how you take criticism, how you maintain focus under pressure, and most importantly, how you act when emotions run high. Have you ever made a stupid decision in a state of anger or fear, or stayed silent when you should have spoken up? It's not because you're stupid, it's just that your EQ is lagging behind your IQ, but it's a work in progress. What does that include? Awareness. You track how you're feeling, not suppressing it, not ignoring it, but understanding it. And you don't let your emotions steer you like a drunk driver. Self-control. You don't explode at first words. You don't run for dopamine in TikTok when the going gets tough. You choose to react, which means you're in control of the situation. Empathy. You start to read other people. You realize who's reacting to what, and you know how to get your point across without provoking resistance. It works in negotiations, in friendships, in families, in teams. If you want to pump up your intelligence, start with yourself. Self-observation, emotion journaling, stop-response practice, talking without the goal of winning. These are simple but powerful tools that make you smarter in life, not in theory. IQ opens the door. EQ decides whether they let you in next. The body and brain are one system. You can read 3 books a week, solve Sudoku with your eyes closed, and take one course after another. But if you don't sleep, don't move, and eat the wrong foods, your brain will be in crash mode. Intelligence is not just thoughts, it's biochemistry. It's blood flow, it's hormones, it's nutrition, and it's all directly related to your lifestyle. Sleep. Lack of sleep literally kills neuroplasticity. Information is not assimilated. Attention spans fall apart and thinking becomes dull. Get less than 6 hours of sleep. Rest assured, your brain is working at 60% of what it could be. You're not a night owl, you just don't recover. Nutrition. The brain needs fats, vitamins, minerals. Not energy drinks and sugar, but real food. Omega-3s, magnesium, B vitamins, water. These are not tips from a health magazine. They are fuel for concentration, memory, speed of thinking. Physical activity. Any kind. Walking, running, yoga, gym. When you move, you improve blood flow, reduce stress, and speed up neuroprocesses. 30 minutes of activity a day and your brain is already thinking faster than someone who just sits. It's not a sport for the body. It's exercise for the mind. You can't develop the intellect, and in doing so, destroy the base on which it works. The brain is part of the body, and if the body is in decline, the brain has nothing to stand on. You want to think like a genius. Start sleeping, eating, and moving like a human being. Real examples. Evidence from life and science. London cab drivers. Scientists have found that drivers taking a London street knowledge test actually increase the hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for memory. Not abstractly developing, but physically growing brain structures. Studied, the brain has changed. Musicians and languages. People who practiced music as children learn foreign languages faster and show higher levels of logical thinking. Why? Because the connections between brain areas are denser. Multitasking, listening, coordination, everything works for intelligence. Older adults who learn new things. Studies show people 60+ years old who learn something complex, programming, a language, a tool, improve memory and concentration more than those who just keep their brains sharp. Neuroplasticity doesn't disappear with age. It's just not utilized. Conclusion 1. Intelligence is not a gift. It's a job. What was drummed into your head as a child and is still preventing you from growing? Write one word.